get that chlorhexidine off of there, right? And just do it with alcohol. So get our sterile gloves on, right? Bring an extra pair. If you contaminate, then you don't have to leave this, because you leave this, you need to open up another kit. You never know, right? I mean, I hate to say it, but I've seen bats in the OR, flies in the OR, mice in the OR. They exist in these old hospital buildings. You leave this unattended, you can't guarantee that it's still sterile, right? So the first thing I'm gonna do, I check that the patient doesn't have a chlorhexidine allergy, so I can use the chlorhexidine sponge. These are called wings. I'm gonna press this together. That inner tube cracks. It allows the chlorhexidine to come up to the top part of the sponge, like a bullseye, right? Now this would not have come out like that, and I would never touch that. Theoretically, this hand is contaminated. That's not gonna retract out because it's sutured in. So I'm gonna start just like a bullseye. In the center, one small circle, medium circle, larger circle. I'm gonna toss this. I'm gonna take a second one. They only come with one, but you're supposed to do 2 cleansings. Again, center, bullseye. 1, 2, 3. And you really can't get underneath there. Everybody's always like, oh, how do I go on? You can't, it's sutured down, right? You can get the wetness of this onto the top of it.
So the sutures are right there?
Yes,
Through
they
that.
put that needle in.
So you can't get under, okay.
Right. But if you ever see anybody doing this, they're ignorant. The whole idea behind letting this air dry is it potentiates the effectiveness of the chlorhexidine by allowing it to dry on the skin surface, right? So as this is drying, it's doing its job. It's gonna get a boost from this because this also has chlorhexidine. It's impregnated in that sponge part. So it's always print side up, sponge down, right? And this is fenestrated as well, right? It comes with that fenestration in it. So I'm gonna open this and I'm gonna put it underneath here. Now I'm gonna take my dressing. I'm gonna open the dressing, right? And there's a little slit in this paper. Obviously, right? I wanna put sticky side down. You wanna kinda know where that's at because you're gonna need to pull that paper off once you get the dressing down. So I wanna go not like this, not like this, not too much left, not too much right, but kinda dead center. I'm gonna lay this down. I'm gonna start at that bio patch and I'm gonna push this down onto the skin. Now, the procedure is done, right? I've cleaned it, I've inspected it, I've looked for infection, I put my bio patch on, my dressing's down. So theoretically now, you're gonna contaminate yourself because the sterile part of the procedure is done, right? So now I wanna lift this paper up and I'm gonna use my index finger and I'm gonna follow that around to make sure that it's secure against the skin edge, right? And I need my little piece of paper. This can get contaminated now because this is where, and this also has a slit so that it's easy to take off. I'm gonna need this for my initials, the date, and the time, right? Because this is specific. Sometimes it's 72 hours, sometimes it's 96, it depends on where the patient is and the hospital that you're in, right? I should have been a little more careful to not let that little piece of paper on there. So I'm gonna put this on the dressing, not on the skin. When I'm done, I'll take my pen and I'll put my initials, date, and time. Now, I wanna anchor this, right? When you're accessing this, you can see how fragile this end is in terms of lifting that dressing up if you didn't anchor it. So you're gonna take your tape. This is called a courtesy tab, right? When you buy your Scotch tape at home, when you first go to use it, this is so that you can pull this up without having to dig into the end of it. Stick it on your glove. You guys are pros now, come on. Don't let this tape get you wonky. You're gonna see less is more. I'm gonna cut that in half. I'm gonna stick this on my glove, right? Sticky side up. I'm gonna go underneath, right? And I'm gonna fold this on top of itself. And you can see now why when you do it, if you tried to take this off and you didn't take that off, you'd never be able to do it, right? And then this just goes on as an additional brace at the bottom of that chevron. And now I can access this without lifting that back edge of the dressing up, right? So I take his mask off, I put his head back, I put the pillow back, I tell him that I appreciate his cooperation, that the site looks good, I don't see anything that alarms me at all in terms of it being infected. Here's your call bell, is there anything I can do before I leave the room? Right?
You see how we opened this in the very beginning, right?
Yes.
Can we like take all that old dressing off first and then open it up, or just prefer?
Yes, and you know what? The first time I did the demonstration today, that's the way I did it, but I know the steps in the sheet because I like to open this last for just the reason that I said to you. But you know what? It's equally true. I know this is gonna like gross everybody out, but I've seen flies land, right? So if I don't have this open and I've got the dressing off, see, it's a leak in the air conditioning and a drop of something. So now it's gonna take me a couple of, maybe a minute to get this open, put the BioPatch in, wash my hands again, get my sterile gloves on. So it's kind of like 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. But just from the OR background, like I tend to open this last. And you guys are gonna get so quick at this, like it's gonna be nothing to open this, get the BioPatch in, get your gloves on. Like, you're gonna do it in 30 seconds when you're really comfortable with it because you've done it a million times. So it's just that, right, always, you can go to do whatever you need to do, but if you leave this unattended, bring in a new kit with you. You just don't know. And you don't want that to be, that's why, like sometimes when we're scrubbed in the OR,